Hey everyone, and welcome. My name's Aaron, and today we're taking a look at the Strokkur Treble Booster from KMA Machines. I'm playing my 60th anniversary thin line Telecaster through my Jackson Newcastle 18. And here is my clean tone. Hey, interesting one, this one. Treble boosters, they are somewhat mysterious, and you don't see them that much on like a modern pedal board. Maybe you do. Maybe I don't see them very much, but they're sort of a product of yesteryear where people would have these treble boosters, sometimes actually attached at their guitar. Some people still do, such as Brian May. These were to get the right overdrive characteristic out of, these big amps back in the day. And the circuits are obviously, still around and people use them for stuff. I find it just a really interesting sound, and I really like it. It's very aggressive, very obviously like treble-y. This one in particular, this is called the Strokkur treble booster from KMA Machines. It's named after like a geyser in Iceland or something like that. That's why I don't know if I'm saying it right. KMA Machines is a German company, but they named it after a geyser from Iceland. But it's aptly named. It sounds like that ice picky kind of thing, especially, it's like just piling on with the bridge pickup on a Telecaster. It's a lot of treble going into the amp. And you have to have an amp where you like how it overdrives and it absorbs a little bit of that top end. I think if I had kind of my favorite setting here going into like a Fender deluxe reverb type of amp, it would just be biting your head off. And so they've actually included a lot of cool sort of options on this thing versus, a standard like always on kind of treble booster. This one has this boost control on the lower right, as you can see here. It's got a range control over here, and then a treble and bass. The boost control obviously boosts your signal, just boosts it into your amp. The range determines what frequencies basically are being boosted. So if you've got it all the way left here where I have it now, it's just like that classic treble booster sound, which is gonna, it's not cutting lower frequencies, it's just boosting only upper frequencies. So the effect of that is there's more volume and there's less bass because the treble frequencies are taking up all of the power basically of your amp. And so this is kind of like the classic treble booster sound all the way left. As you turn it to the right, you're introducing more and more of a full range signal into your amp. So if you have, a Fender-y type of amp, or if you don't really like, the sound of a classic treble booster, you can blend in kind of more of that full range signal. When it's all the way right, it's like a full range boost. And then on top of that, you've got these separate sort of bass and treble controls. They're passive bass and treble controls, which means they're not necessarily adding any bass or treble that's not already in the boosted signal, but you can take away and sculpt it, depending on, again, what guitar, what amp, you're going into. So it's a highly sculptable tone shaping sort of pedal. I would definitely put it in the like tone shaping sort of category. I tend to like it more on the like classic treble boost type of sound, maybe with a little bit of that more full range dialed in, and then just like dimed on the boost, like just crank it, and then maybe the treble's about at noon, and then the bass is pushed a little bit. Maybe the treble's pushed a little bit too. So that gives me. I've grown to kind of like the treble booster sound. At first, I didn't really get it, but now I see how useful it is. It sounds like a guitar sound that has been like mixed in a record. A lot of times when you're mixing stuff, you gotta chop off low end. Definitely on electric guitars, there's not a lot of low end in like a final mix. You reserve that space for, bass guitar and drums, and there's only so much frequency space. A lot of times bands are kind of running all over each other frequency wise, and sometimes that's fine, but a lot of times what makes a band like sound really good live is like you know, this guitar player is like, hey, what's the space I'm like carving out here? The bass player is like, what area am I occupying? The drummer, and you work together the way you do, you know, when you're doing a mix, to be like, okay, you can have those frequencies. I'm going to take these ones. It's kind of a nerdy thing to do in a rock band, but that's the type of mind I am. That is like such a useful guitar sound because it's getting out of the way of, you know, other instruments. And when a guitar sound gets out of the way like that and only occupies sort of, you know, the right frequency space, you can bring it up louder. And so, you know, people won't yell at you quite as much. The alternate kind of sound you can get, which is really interesting and different, is like if I bring the range all the way up. So now I'm boosting like a full range signal. I notice when I do that it gets really bass heavy compared to so it's boosting a full range signal, but sort of the low end is sort of taking over a little bit. So I'm going to bring that down just a hair and maybe bring the treble up just a hair. And that's a really different sound than like the classic treble boosted thing, which is like this. Another fun thing to do with treble boosters is to roll your volume down. You get sort of this hyper clean, sort of icicle-like. It reminds me of like a Brian May thing when he rolls his volume down and plays clean. Brian May from Queen. He doesn't use any pedals or anything. He goes into a Vox AC30 and everything is all the way up. Just every dial is all the way up. And the way he gets his different tones is just from his volume control. He's got a crazy weird guitar with all these pickups and different phase switches and stuff that he built himself. But yeah, that kind of reminds me of that sound, which is a really unique, sort of thin, like it thins out the low end when you roll back the volume like that when you're going through a treble booster. So it's not like a pure, unaffected kind of tone. That's, you know, no pedal. That has more like fatness to it. Then turn this on, roll the volume down. Obviously, because it's boosting treble and then you're turning the volume down. So the effect of that is going to be a brighter sound. By the way, this thing is really pretty too. It's like this dark teal sort of flat paint color with this nice abstract geyser on it. I like pedals that look good. I mean, sorry. This one also came on like a bale of hay. And I always like it when I get a pedal in the mail that's delivered on a bale of hay. It makes me think that you made it in a barn. And I imagine that barn somewhere in Germany where they're just meticulously making these pedals and just thinking of me while they do it. Yep, the KMA Machines Strokkur Treble Booster. Go try it for yourself. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below. That's it from me today. We'll see you guys next time.